Well, my next guest says, actually, this is a huge deal, what Rubio said. Merrick von Reninkampf served at the Departments of State and Defense. He's also a contributor at The Hill. Great to have you back on the show. So why do you think what Rubio said is a big deal?
Well, it's a big deal because he's alleging, and in the clip that you teed up there, he said that generals and admirals had come to Congress when he was the vice chairman of the Senate Intelligence Committee and alleged that there are unreported secret UAP programs that even the president is not aware of. When you have flag officers, general officers coming in to Congress behind closed doors, essentially sneaking in to Congress to make these allegations, that's explosive. That is extraordinary. It deserves all of the attention that NewsNation, that you have been putting onto it. What did just rub me a little bit the wrong way is that now, 2 years later, so Rubio made the exact same comments 2 years ago, when he was in Congress. Now he's the national security advisor, which is perhaps besides the president, perhaps the most powerful position from in the national security enterprise, which sits at the intersection of the intelligence community and the Pentagon. And he's still saying the same thing. He's not. He's not verifying. He's not debunking. He's not denying this. It's kind of there's a bit of a concern on my end that he was not able to, if this is such a big deal, and it is when generals and admirals come forward and make these claims, that he is not able to either say publicly what has been found or to debunk this.
Here's what he said, though, in that soundbite. This is the part that jumped out at me, and I want to get your take on this, because when you watch the documentary, and half the people in it are people I've had on this show and interviewed, and they're all saying this one thing, which is that presidents don't need to know, that presidents and highly elected members of the cabinet or high appointed members of the cabinet are deliberately kept out of the loop because of our election system. The president might be gone in 4 years. He'd definitely be gone in 8 years. And all of his cabinet goes with him. And they want to keep the circle of who knows so small and so tight that that's how it is that we have a president and a vice president who administration after administration is deliberately kept out of the loop.
Yeah, Elizabeth, and credit to Dan Farah and the Age of Disclosure, because he did capture Rubio explaining explicitly how that could happen. As extraordinary as what you just outlined may seem to us, Rubio explains a hypothetical where very much, the political appointees are viewed as quote unquote temporary help, and then the career officials, if you want to talk about a deep state, the career officials are the ones that retain the secret, if this is all true. I just want to also quickly echo what Mike Schellenberger said on your show last night, which is we're way beyond the point where President Trump needs to come out and clarify this, because J.D. Vance has made extraordinary comments about this topics, Marco Rubio, Tulsi Gabbard, John Radcliffe, the CIA director, and that applies to both sides of the aisle. Chuck Schumer, the leader of the Senate Democrats,
and don't remember,
sponsored legislation.
Harry Reid was the one who really,
precisely,
exactly, a Democrat. It's one of the few issues, by the way, that has managed to unite both parties. We see, congressmen from very far ends of the other side of the aisle working very closely together on this issue. Do you think we're finally there?
We won't be there until the president steps to the microphone and makes an announcement. I do want to just quickly hit on the bipartisan element of this. That's extraordinary. First of all, this topic has united a deeply fractured and politicized Congress for starters. But that also makes me think that this is not some kind of psychological operation, right? What on earth would John Brennan and John Radcliffe, two of the president's, one of his biggest allies and one of his biggest detractors, they're saying the exact same thing. These folks, again, are miles apart politically, but they're all in lockstep on this. I find that extraordinary, and it is time. This confusion, all these conflicting narratives from the Pentagon that's denying this, and that you have all of this the chatter from the administration, folks in high-level folks. The president needs to come out and clarify just what is going on.
Let's hope so. Merrick von Reninkampf, great to talk to you. Thanks so much for coming on the show. Appreciate it.
Thanks so much.
All right.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.